Greetings everyone, it's your Peacekeeper coming at you with the last and final video on the How to Play series on the French cruiser line. This is the Tier 10 Henri IV, or Henry IV as the English is. And Henri IV is, well, it's a paper ship that really doesn't have any real design history at all, from what I can tell. Purely fabricated by Wargaming, using real-life guns, though. These guns did actually exist, at least in terms of their design proposal, but that was about the extent of what this ship is in real life. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that. As a result, there's no service history or any real history to talk about here. Basically, its in-game play style is fairly simple. Take the Saint Louis and Charles Martel and combine them with much heavier guns. These 240 millimeter guns, which, quick math says basically 9.5 inches. And you've got some interesting play style, mostly because the ship actually, at longer ranges, it has very flat and usable arcs. It almost does what Hindenburg does, but does it better. The only difference is that the AP on this thing is absolutely devastating. And I realize that some people are going to say, I don't really think it's devastating, but let's look at that damage. 6,200 damage. I mean, we're starting to get into the battleship levels of AP damage there. We come over to Hindenburg, we look at Hindenburg, which is known for its AP, 5,900. So we're doing 300 more damage in a citadel hit, which it adds up. It really does add up. So Henri is very capable as a cruiser hunter. It is also very capable as a I want to watch the world burn cruiser. So similar to Zao and Hindenburg's long-range high explosive. The difference is that Henri basically relies upon her speed and speed boost to be effective at that game. The ship's not very maneuverable. The ship's not very stealthy. The ship has armor, but it's not the most durable cruiser in the world. Basically amounts to a mix-up of Hindenburg's gunnery with Des Moines' durability. So it can be extremely devastating when played within its little confines. So its in-game play style, it is a very good long-range, high-explosive spammer, but the AP also works at long range, which is no different than any other ship in the French line. So I don't think that there's necessarily an issue regarding, this ship's playability. It does suffer a little bit in the carrying capability, like Saint Louis does, and a large part of that is simply because it relies so much on fires, but it does set them very easily, so it's very capable at that. The ship also has pretty good anti-aircraft defense. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, and with defensive fire up and the consumables, it does stack up fairly awfully awesome-like. I can't stress it enough. I think the ship is pretty well rounded. The fun part about this ship, though, is the occasional time at which you do get to brawl it out with something. If they give you a broadside, hold on, because the citadel numbers that you rack up are going to be impressive. And the amount of damage that you're going to do is impressive. These guns work very, very, very well. Of course, the rear gun in those situations should probably be ignored unless it's something like a Neptune that you can just flat out one shot. Yeah. All right, so let's look at this ship's stats. 53,300 hit points, which is pretty good. It says up to 220 millimeters of armor. One thing I do want to point out is the armor model, it appears that it doesn't have any belt armor at all. That's because it is hiding behind the torpedo bulges. Got to get rid of the superstructure here. You can actually see here that the armor belt is 140 millimeters at the top part and tapers down to 105 millimeters. This is basically 5.5 inches thereabouts. It's almost 6 inches of belt armor, almost, and it tapers down to 4. So the vast majority of the armor, though, is concentrated in the main battery, particularly the rear of the main battery turret. Torpedo damage reduction of 19%, which for a cruiser is alright. Main battery consists of 3 triple 240mm 55 caliber guns, 19.1 kilometer range, 10.8 second reload time, that's going to be with the reload module, 32.8 second 180 degree turn time, which is pretty good. That's a little bit slower than Roma, though, so keep that in mind. HE shell damage, 3,400, 25% fire chance, 6,200 AP shell damage, and 19.1 kilometer firing range. Again, that's going to be without the range module, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Shell velocity, the same, 845 meters per second, so pretty flat, gets out there pretty quickly. It does have secondary battery that consists of 6 dual 127mm or 5-inch guns, and you can see them there. They are mounted 3 per side. So we got 2 in the forward facing and then 1 to the rear. Torpedoes, same torpedoes that the French cruisers have had for a very long time. 60 knot speed, 9 kilometer range, 14,833 damage. I guess it's not the exact same, but same basic principle. It is a single triple launcher per side. Pretty good arcs firing from the rear back here. I don't know. They're situationally useful. They're really good at denying an area. They're really good at catching cruisers off guard. In those close-in encounters, you can put those torpedoes where they're going to come around an island, for instance, and maybe get lucky and catch them. Just kind of depends on the circumstance. Anti-aircraft defense. This ship has those 57mm ACADs, except for these are going to be a much later version. 8 duels of those. They have a 5.4 kilometer firing range. And then those 5-inch gun mounts, the 6 5-inch dual 5-inch gun mounts, 6.2 kilometer range on those. So a pretty healthy amount of AA. It gets, like I said, with defensive fire, the ship can kind of hold its own there. It's about 300... Yeah, we'll call it 300 DPS, and then triple it for defensive fire to 900 DPS. So pretty potent. Max speed, 36.8 knots. That's going to be with the speed flag. Should be right around 35 without. Should be exactly 35 without. 840 meter turning circle radius. 9.5 second rudder shift time. 12.7 kilometer detection range by sea. 8.2 by air. Let's look at some upgrades. In the first slot, you can see I'm running Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1 for the 100% increase in your anti-aircraft gun mounts hit point pool. Being as it's one of the few defensive capabilities that this ship has, and because you're going to be spending some time in the back by the battleships, you might as well provide some anti-aircraft. Of course, if you take any damage at all, though, you need to be able to at least have some AA, so that's why I run that. Of course, there's Magazine Mod 1 and Main Armaments Mod 1. Both are very viable options. Of the two, Main Armaments Mod 1 for the 20% reduction in your main battery getting incapacitated, 50% increase in the hit point pool of your main battery, and minus 20% to the time it takes to repair your main battery if it gets incapacitated temporarily. That would be my preferred one over Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1. In the second slot, you can see I'm running Propulsion Systems Mod 1 for the 20% reduction in the chance of your engine being incapacitated, as well as a 20% reduction in the time it takes to repair it. And, the speed of this ship is the one thing that it has going for it, so I don't want to lose my engines. Of course, if you have it, Engine Boost Mod 1 here for the 50% increase in the active time of the Speed Boost consumable, it's there if you want to take it. In the third slot, I am running Aiming Systems Mod 1 for the 7% reduction in the dispersion of your main battery. However, the 20% increase in torpedo tube traverse speed is nice, and I won't complain about having a 5% increase in the secondary battery firing range and a 5% reduction in the secondary battery dispersion, even though I really don't think that the secondary builds on this ship are viable. If you want to run the ship as a dedicated anti-aircraft escort, there is AA Guns Mod 2 to push out your anti-aircraft firing range an additional 20%. In the fourth slot, I am running Steering Gears Mod 2 for the 20% reduction in the rudder shift time. This ship has battleship levels of rudder shift, and I need just a little bit more maneuverability out of it. Now, I can see a case being made for Damage Control Systems Mod 2 and Propulsion Mod 2. However, I really think that in this ship's case, we don't want to be taking any damage if we can avoid it. So the more maneuverability we have, the better. In the fifth slot, I am running Concealment Systems Mod 1 for the 10% reduction in the detection range of the ship, as well as the 5% increase in the dispersion of shells fired at you. I did run this briefly with Steering Gears Mod 3 for the 80% reduction in the time it takes to repair your steering, as well as a 40% reduction in the rudder shift time, but I found that the detection range going up to, 14 kilometers basically is a big detriment to the ship's capabilities. You just get spotted too far out too easily. It doesn't allow you any real chance to disengage from any enemies, especially since you're really playing in that 15 kilometer range quite consistently. I guess if you wanted, you're maneuverable enough that you could probably make it work. So if it works for you, run it. In the last slot, I'm running Main Battery Mod 3 for the 12% reduction in the time it takes to reload the main guns. It also comes with the penalty of a 13% slower turret traverse. I personally prefer this over the range module. However, some people will run Gunfire Control Systems Mod 2 for the 16% increase in the main battery firing range. What I have found is even with the dispersion module in the third slot, the ship is just a little too inaccurate at longer ranges to really make this work. And so I'm running the reload module to give us, basically an 11-second reload time. I mean, these guns, the 11-second reload time, plenty potent. I can promise you that. There's also AA Guns Mod 3 here for the 25% increase in the DPS of your anti-aircraft guns. That's there if you really want to turn the ship into an anti-aircraft escort. However, at this tier, I think if that's what you want to do, I think the Des Moines is a much better choice in the long run. Okay, so that's enough of talking about this in port. Let's go look at it in a battle video. Alright, so this battle obviously is going to be a tier 10 fight. And it is on my least favorite map ever, Mountain Range. You would think in a ship like this that I would actually be really, really happy to be on a map like Mountain Range, but the reality is I'm really not. That goes back to that 12-kilometer detection range and the the overall lack of durability. We'll just say that. So the beginning of this match starts off quite heavily. We start off quite heavily to the west and on the north side of this map. And generally speaking, in cruisers, we find ourselves mixing it up there in the the islands off to the left here. But this ship, as a brawler, it has capability, but that comes with risk. And especially with the reload module, which slows down the turret traverse, I think the turrets are just a little too battleship-like to really be comfortable in a true brawl, because you can't just swing all of your guns to bear. You don't have the maneuverability to point the ship in order to do it and then angle before the next salvo. I can't tell you the number of times I've made the mistake of, charging headlong into combat and find myself broadside to something as simple as a Zao and losing half my hit points. So it always comes with risk. Of course, there's Mr. Def from the the forums there. Anyway, so we are going to kind of briefly play around in this area, and it's all about supporting the ships that you've got, right? So for us, we want to let our team get up front and let them do the work. Of course, this team is at an added disadvantage that we really only have one destroyer, and that's the Z-46. The Khabarovsk is not it's not a destroyer, it's basically a cruiser. And as a capping destroyer, it is the worst destroyer we could possibly have running towards a cap. Of course, there's their Henri, Friedrich de Gross on our side, Chapayev on our side. Well, I guess the Chapayev's not on our side, but he's close. And of course, battleship Hindenburg. So we have a Fletcher here, and we definitely want to, as per the normal, we want to prioritize, if we can, the the destroyers, especially ones that could, take out our Z-46 and do, some harm to him. We do have a speed boost consumable there to help us get way out in front. Oop, there we go. So 3 shell hits, 3,283 damage, basically 3,300 damage. You can see these, if I ever get back into there, you can see how flat these shell arcs are. If you line up these shells and you get hits, I mean, it's easy enough to get hits, we'll just say that. So, just chomping away here, using our maneuverability, using that speed boost. The thing that is really annoying to do is to play at these longer ranges and trap a battleship in them. Like, if you can get a battleship to commit full hog to basically being the focus of your attention, it can be a lot of fun to really just burn them down. As with most battleships, my recommendation is, if you are going to play this ship, you need to be pre-planning your turret turning, because there are some definite issues with the turret traverse, and as a result, you want to be pre-planning as best you possibly can. Now, you've seen I've slowed down, and I have decided to kind of bow camp a little bit here. We're racking up HE shell damage. We're doing the it's French, they're retreating. No, I'm kiting backwards, and we're using that to our advantage. We're just trying to rain HE as best we possibly can on this Hindenburg, and we're not exposing any real broadside, because right now the only ship that's interested in shooting at me is the Hindenburg. His AP is not going to be doing much in the way of damage to me. Of course, we have our AP up, so we're going to see if we can't contribute a little bit more damage. And you can see there an overpen. That's all we get out of that. It's an overpen. Switching back to HE. This time we're going to go forward. And hopefully we can finish off this Hindenburg before too long here. 3,400 shell damage there with the AP. Can you imagine what that would have been had he been broadside, even without citadels? That was just 2 normal pens. The AP on this ship is quite powerful. I mean, there's no doubt about that in my mind. 1,300 shell damage there. That's alright. We took out an anti-aircraft gun mount, I think, is the reason why that didn't work out terribly well in our favor. But now, because he is running away... Ooh, AP. Well, fine then. We gotta be careful with this Conqueror here, but I'm, ultimately... Oh, shell bounce there. I'd actually be more worried about that Azumo just randomly getting off a lucky smack than anything, but... Oh, so the Conqueror... Oh, we got a shell shattered. That's no good. Got a Hindenburg over here in the island. Oop, Fletcher. So now we have a priority target to shoot at. We got our AP rounds out. Nope. We're gonna get 1,200 damage there with a normal pen, but he slowed down enough, and I overled him, so we didn't get the kill. Finally, 5 minutes and 20 some odd seconds in the match, we finally get our first kill. The team gets its first kill. That was first blood right there. That Fletcher. Oi. Now they're gonna start falling though. Okay, so Friedrich der Gross. And once again, you can see we're going into this kiting position, meaning we're spending a lot of time running. We're spending a lot of time basically making ourselves as small of a target as possible. And that can be kind of a hard situation to be in. Was hoping to maybe sneak behind the island here and be able to shoot over the island, but alas, was not meant to be. It's okay though. We have not seen, interestingly enough, our first fire yet. This match has not occurred. But, oh, look! French cruiser. That was a citadel. Gee, thanks. And, you know, we're slowly but surely racking up damage. Slow start to this. So let's get ourselves turned about, and let's continue to focus on other things. You can see, map-wise, our Khabarovsk is capturing B, and nobody is really spotting him or attempting to contest that from him. And our battleships over at C, they're finally starting to put on their big boy pants and push through, so it's time for our fleet here at A to push through and you know, kind of seal in the enemy team into the lower right-hand corner. If we can do that, we can pretty much dominate the discussion here. It's just going to require the guys on the eastern front there to hold the line. So if they can do that, we will be good to go. So at this point, you know, we've got HE loaded, but we got AP loaded, but not anything to really shoot at. Nothing broadside anyway. Their Conqueror, their Hindenburg, their Henri. All of their ships are running to the east. That leaves this Friedrich der Grosse in a very, very precarious position, and that no Hindenburg can save him from. Okay, so we're gonna open up again, this time with AP. I'm gonna see what we can get out of it. A very flat horizontal dispersion, really bad. Well, we had really flat, so really tight vertical dispersion, really bad horizontal dispersion. Come on, fires. Shell velocity is playing with me here. I'm not really enjoying what it's doing either. Well, since we're not going to be able to do much to this Friedrich der Grosse, maybe this Conqueror will be a little bit more willing to accept my burning love. So we'll try and we'll shoot at him instead. Trying to really get into this match. It's evened up the match a little bit. We did actually somehow manage to bounce that shell. Things I bet he's really not happy about. Well, we're back to being all stealthed up, and at this point, we're going to join the rest of our team in making a charge to the north here. Throw on the speed boost, and you can see the speed boost. It adds a ridiculous amount of speed to it. You know, we're up over 40 knots. This is a 35-knot base speed ship, so I'm not that I'm complaining about going over 40 knots, but it's just interesting. It's a very effective speed boost consumable. And you can see just how effective it is by the fact that I missed, even though I led like I would lead a Khabarovsk that I was shooting at there. Alright, well, now it's time that we're down to 2 cruisers out of the 5 that we started with. They are down a battleship and 2 destroyers, so at this point, destroyers are definitely at a... definitely missing from their repertoire. And I don't think we need to lead quite that much. Plus, I think he's turning away, so that was a wasted salvo. Yeah, we didn't need to lead quite that much. However, if I can catch him coming back, or if I could just... No. At least that kill I didn't exactly have any, you know, any claim to fame on it. That was purely a... purely the workings of the of their fleet. So, shot out there on the Hindenburg. We're still only up to 23,000 damage, so we've not done a whole lot this match. Izumo is on fire already, shooting AP at him, mostly because he's presenting a little bit of a profile, hoping that he opens up just a little bit more, and then we can start to see some damage numbers roll in. And I think we're going to get that in the salvo. Yeah, how about 8 grand? Even Battleship Hindenburg doesn't get that this consistently. And maybe he's got 900 hit points left. 700. Yes, we got the kill. Okay, on to the next one. Well, for once, we don't have a ship that has a fire on it, so if we wait just a couple seconds here, we should be able to put a fire on this Iowa, but right now we've still got AP loaded. Yeah, bounced off the nose. Expected that. And you can see I'm basically the overarching tactic for this ship is to not present yourself in such a way to where you're the focus of the enemy team. If you can do that, that will help out tremendously. And you can see we're still down a ship. However, we have all the capture points, so all your base are belong to us. Although they are attempting to capture A. I was hoping that Mr. Def could go dark. I can't really tell how close the Henri is to him. So we're gonna try and speed over there, although we don't have our speed boost consumable up, and we're gonna try and help take out this Henri to at least, if nothing else, you know, try and keep Mr. Def alive. But I don't know that we're gonna get there. Okay. I was hoping for a citadel hit, but I'll take a random overpen to reset the cap. Yeah, Mr. Def dies. That's no good. Come on, citadel hits. Nope. More overpens. So at this point, we got a couple of different things that we got to be conscious of. We're broadside to an Iowa down at the other side. Little less worried about him at the moment. I think he's a bit preoccupied with 2 battleships that are there, but you never know. Okay, so I'm on fire and he's on fire. Launch our random torpedo spread. It's a good thing I launched that torpedo spread. So we use the island there to kind of get out of his line of fire, and my hope there is... Oh, the camera is being all weird. My hope is that we can, you know, we get a lucky torpedo hit off. That would be fantastic. Not exactly holding my breath, but, you know, hey, just for good measure, let's go ahead and throw another set out on the other side here. And again, we're sailing broadside to an Iowa, and like I said, I think he's a little bit more preoccupied than wants to be, but oh, hey, buddy. That's rough. Those were meant for you, but I don't think that's what was intended. Aha! Whew! Our baguette armor is working very well. So now we have somehow managed to end up all the way over at sea, and this is one of the interesting aspects of this ship, is its speed allows you to really flex across the battlefield, which is a lot of fun. For one, you can play it almost like a giant destroyer, but you have 9.5-inch guns. Oh, come on, give me the kill. Or not. Our first and only fire so far this match, it was on a nearly dead Iowa. Like, what? Okay, so now we've got Conqueror here that we're gonna use these islands as best we can to abuse, you know, basically all of the cover that we can get. He's coming in, so we need to aim just a little bit lower. You can see it doesn't take a whole lot of time there for those shells to get out there. Oh, we missed. Really? Alright, well, I think he's slowing down, I think is what's going on there. So now we got 2 battleships on their side. Ooh, 6 hits. That had to hurt. That was about 6 grand. And so now we're going to continue to see you, and that way we can use our islands. We do need to kill this Conqueror, though, because they have a distinct advantage in the hit point pool of their battleships. We've got AP loaded, doing the kind of juggle around, praying that we can kill them before they make contact. No. Boo. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, that was an okay trade, especially since basically our team is now devoid of of any ships that can effectively engage 2 battleships. Well, a battleship and a half. Oh, we managed to incapacitate his main gun. That's pretty interesting when you think about it, because Friedrich der Grosse is no slouch when it comes to the amount of armor on its turrets. But you can see using this island very, very efficiently to try and get a fire or something. There we go. So we got a fire on the Friedrich. If he burns it, he's going to flood. However, I think he is going to survive no matter what happens. And now he's going to burn that repair. Yep, so that was expected. So at this point, we've got stealth on our side. There's no reason to engage until we have a little bit clearer idea what's going on. We're waiting for his damage control party to go down so that I can hopefully get a fire on him again, like that one. And turning out to try and avoid taking as much damage as possible. Now we're looking for fire number 2 on Mr. Friedrich der Grosse. Quick island check there to make sure that we're not just going to randomly run into an island. Still taking a lot of little bits of damage. And those that death by paper cuts, it really, really adds up. Hey. At this point, if I was this Friedrich der Grosse, I'd be getting a little frustrated because I'm about to disappear behind an island that he is not going to really be able to effectively engage me when I get behind. And he knows that if he gets another fire or if he gets another torpedo hit, a pretty high probability it's going to burn or flood for a full duration here. And you can see I'm just using the distance to my advantage. I'm using islands to my advantage so that they can't engage me. It's very, very difficult to deal with this ship in open waters simply because it's just not very maneuverable. So there's another fire. And another island to duck behind. Like, hey, yo dog, I hear you like engaging cruisers, so I took your ability to engage cruisers away from you. So he did decide to shoot, but at the end of the day, it really didn't help him out any, because surprise. So Hindenburg AP is ballots. Yeah, 10 grand. Ouch. Let's see if I can get a return. 3,200. And I am angled, and I am still taking this level of damage. At this point, it's just a matter of kiting away as best I possibly can. You know, time-wise, we got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. We've got a huge advantage when it comes to the amount of points that we have. Ooh, well, that's no good. Well, guess we're just gonna have to flat out survive. Gonna have to burn the damage control party immediately on that guy. Nope, no. My guns decided to start traversing the other way. I really wish they hadn't, but oh well. Can we get a 4th torpedo hit? No, he's gonna turn in on that one. Get a reset on it though. And again, we're just WASDing. At this point, it's a delay tactic because I honestly don't know that there's really much that we're gonna be able to do against a Hindenburg. Those are the fastest shooting, flattest shooting 8-inch guns in the West, and they're no slouch when it comes to starting fires either, as you see. Speaking of fires, we get our 2nd one on him, but ooh, what is going on here? Just nothing but resets. Let's go. 13 seconds, 126,856 damage. And, yeah, we're basically coming to the end of this video, and, yeah. Okay, so we ended up dying, but it's not enough for us to actually lose the match. So we end up winning. To the bitter end! Always to the bitter end. And, overall, you know, I think Henri is a fun ship to play. 1974 base XP there. Not a whole lot in fires that match, though. I think it's a fun ship to play. I do think that requires a special mentality to play it well, though. It's definitely a long-range kiting ship similar to Hindenburg, but without the durability of Hindenburg. Anyway, I'm your Peacekeeper. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.